Oh. Was that my music? Does this work? We get this one to work? You got help? Which one? Cordless. Is it on? Which one? Oh, you're on the back. How about that? No. Now, so there we go. Cool. He's got to bend too low to get to those things. How you doing?
Great.
It's funny, I've been seeing a lot of that. That's actually a DVD that, if you guys are interested, it's out at my table. And it's a chapter, so like 13, 14 different chapters of different fight sequences with swords, with staffs, using other stunt bodies just to beat up other people with. It's a variety of stuff, it's quite entertaining. And the last one, I was hoping to put the sound on here. Apparently the sound doesn't work. You can't use the DVD and play the sound at the same time? Because that's kind of what I told you to do, but it's okay. You know, that last chapter I think you got to play over again sometime. It was interesting. It was fun to watch because there's a big scene. There's a big chapter on there with me fighting Ares all the time. And for those of you who do know, Kevin passed away years ago. He was my buddy down there. It was sad to see him go. He was my golf buddy, and we had a lot of good times in the course. He sucked at golf. I'm good, but I also had him and Bruce Campbell. Bruce isn't very good either. I just had fun golfing because it was always just 4 hours of just total ridiculousness on the golf course. I was only one in the fairways. They were always in the woods. But Bruce would always have a better attitude about it. Bruce would always say, "A good ball is a found ball, Sorby," you know. But with Kevin Smith, he would just get pissed and break his clubs, and he'd start doing push-ups in the middle of the fairway. Serious, he would. So I called him Monkey Boy because he was always in the trees. It's kind of funny. But anyway, here we are on Sunday. Last day, Albuquerque. I didn't get a chance to really see the city, which is too bad. I usually try to get the time to do stuff and run around. I try to get a day earlier, but my schedule's been a little crazy. So unfortunately, I didn't get to see your fair city very much, except from my hotel window. And I walked to a pub last night to watch both my teams lose. The Celtics lost. The Kings lost in hockey. So I'm lucky I don't gamble. So it would have been a really bad day for me. But my buddy Adam Baldwin's happy because he's got good seats for Game 6 back in Los Angeles. But I leave from here to go to Nashville tonight. I'm finishing up in a movie I'd started in Pensacola, Florida, home of Top Gun. And so I got about a week left on that. Then I go to Louisiana to shoot a movie for like 3 weeks there with Terry Polo. Some of you know her. She was the wife of Ben Stiller in Meet the Parents. And she's my babe in this movie. And Della Reese, which would be kind of cool. It's a nice little movie, and called The Angel Next Door. And it's a good family movie. I don't know when it's coming out, so we haven't even shot it yet, but we'll be shooting it soon. But if you guys have some questions, I'd rather do it that way than me sit up here and just gamble, talking away about whatever. So if anybody's got any questions, please raise a hand and shout out if you've got anything you want to know. Right here, straight ahead. Where's your microphone? Okay.
Tell us about bloopers.
Tell us about bloopers.
Tell the funny stuff.
Well, bloopers, it's interesting because every show has them. I think Jackie Chan sort of made them pretty famous in his movies. They all show what goes wrong in fight scenes because trust me, everything else goes wrong in fight scenes. But we had tons of them. I know they showed them on Hercules and Andromeda, but there was a lot on Andromeda they didn't show, which is unfortunate because I would always make sure that they would read. If something happened on set, they'd say, please mark that down and put it in the blooper reel. And it's like no big deal to them to do it, and I don't know why they didn't do it, but Tribune was a cheap company. So, we got a 5-year run in the show, which is great, but we had too many good bloopers. I always thought they should have recorded our rehearsals, because our rehearsals were ridiculous. And they were fun. They were fun. I mean, I worked with. I mean, the cast and crew was totally professional, but we had a lot of fun on the set, just like in Hercules. We had a lot of laughs. And what we would do would always kind of blow actors that are just guest starring for the episode for those 2 weeks. Initially, kind of blow them away to see how loose and relaxed we were during rehearsals, and how much screwing around we do. So I think they were worried about that we wouldn't know our lines, but we always knew our lines. But we just had fun doing it. And we got a guy like Gordon Wilvet who played Harper, who is the Northern Hemisphere equivalent of Michael Hurst, who played Aeolus in the Southern Hemisphere. Those guys, I think they're brothers, twin brothers from different universes. They're both like the same height, the same hyper energy. I was like, I can't remember the cartoon. I'm like the big bulldog, and they're like the little dog jumping around me all the time. You know? Come on, let's go do something, you know. And the other one, I'm just like, we'll get there, don't worry, you know. So that's that old bull joke. You ever heard the old two bulls, the young bull and the old bull, up by the trees, looking down at all the cows down below, and the young bull's going, come on, let's go down there. And how many kids we got in here?
Yeah.
Do something with one of them. And the old bull says, why don't we just walk down there and do something with all of them? Those guys are great, and certainly with both of them, we had a lot of stuff that just happened on set that were just ridiculous. But that's what makes it fun. You work 14-hour days on set, you can have fun doing it. So anyway, anything else? I know some more hands were popping up. Yes?
Do you ever plan on maybe trying to direct your own movie or make your own movie?
Well, I directed on Hercules and Andromeda. I'm DGA, so I have done that. I'm in talks right now to do something with HBO, and I am directing for the Sci-Fi Channel. A movie called The Temple of Kali. We're debating whether it's going to shoot in Sofia, Bulgaria, or in the Philippines. I've shot in Sofia, so I've been there, I've done it. Will I go back? Sure, but I've never been to the Philippines, so I like the travel aspect of my job. So I'm hoping we go there to do it. It'll be for the Sci-Fi Channel, and they're talking that probably, if it happens this year, it wouldn't happen until like November, December. But that is in the works. It's going to happen. I actually just talked with Jeff Beach, the president of UFO, that does a lot of, it's a company in LA that does a lot of movies for the Sci-Fi Channel. They shoot probably about 6 to 8 of their movies per year. So yeah, I like it. I enjoy directing. It's fun. I mean, it's a lot more work. You go from 14-hour days to 20-hour days, but I like it. I think I always like being directed by actors because they've been on that side as well, and I think there's a better understanding in terms of what they're trying to get out of the actors as well. And I got my feet wet years ago in Hercules when I asked them by season 3. I went to the producers, Tappert and Raimi, and I said I want to direct, and they didn't even blink. They said it's yours. So, and that's how Michael Hurst started. That's how Bruce Campbell started. Bruce was the first-time director on Hercules as well. Because you guys don't know Bruce Campbell, he's a nut. And Bruce is a good friend. We keep in touch. We 3 years now been trying to get me on Burn Notice, and every time they come with a script that's right for me, I'm shooting something else, so I can't do it. So it's frustrating. And I know Jeffrey Donovan very well. Jeff's he's a golf buddy of mine as well. And Bruce's first time directing. We had George Lyle was our first AD, first assistant director on set. And George, very dry British humor, very sarcastic. And at first I thought I was going to hate this guy, ended up being a very good friend of mine. That was like, I remember the first episode that we ever shot down, the first movie we shot of Hercules. I said, who's this guy? He's kind of a jerk, but he's not a jerk. He's very good at his job, and he's very funny. And Bruce, his first scene, is with me. The scene ends. You're waiting for the director to say the traditional cut, and there's a pause and a pause, and I'm like going, well, does he want me to keep going? And all of a sudden you hear Bruce go, wah. And George Lyle says, that must be American for cut. So, but that's Bruce's influence from the Three Stooges, so that's pretty much what that comes from. But Bruce is a funny guy. But yeah. But yeah, I'll be doing more directing because I like it. I do have, for those who do, a lot of people have been asking coming up, I've been busy. I've got 8 movies in the can. I just finished 3 more this year. Just did a comedy with Matthew Perry called The Full Banana. Yes, use your imagination. And it's my first time revisiting the mythological world, the mythology of, but I'm playing Hermes this time. So I guess I only play people that start with the letter H in Greek mythology. Matthew is Apollo, and I am sort of the tech geek of Olympia. And the room that they shot, I've got like 800 computer panels around me, and I'm controlling everything that happens in the world, good or bad. I make a decision if I want you to get in that fender bender or not, you know? So there's a woman, I'm reunited with Christy Swanson, the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a mortal on Earth who, everything's going wrong for her, love life, her working, everything's going wrong with her, and she's just upset, and she says that maybe she should start praying to a god, just saying for the hell of it. And as a bus goes by, there's a big sign on the side of the bus. Hermes, was it the cologne or whatever the hell it is? She goes, Hermes, that's what I'll pray to. So just sarcastically, she starts praying to me, but I see it on one of my panels. Oh my God, somebody's paying attention to me, because no one ever pays attention. You know, it's always Hercules or Apollo or somebody or Zeus. So she prays to me for a couple times, and I am falling in love with this woman. And I have Apollo, who's just basically a womanizer. And he's always got a bunch of nymphs around him, and I'm never interested, and I'm just like, look, I got someone interested in me, so I go down to Earth, and very interesting things happen. So it was a fun movie. And I did a Western called Shadow on the Mesa, which will be on the Hallmark Channel. I did that with Gail O'Grady. Some of you may know Gail. You recognize her right off. Gail's done a lot of work, very good actress. And Greg Evigan, remember BJ and the Bear from the TV series? And he's 60 and he still looks like he's about 35. So he looks great, and it was fun. It was good. It'll be out this summer, and then I leave to finish up this movie called A Matter of Time, and then I go do this movie with Delary. So I'm staying busy. Thank God, knock on wood. I like to stay busy. Anything else? Questions? Somebody come in. Yes. The front row's very busy.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for coming to Albuquerque. I want to start by saying, as a teenager, I would stay up late at nights on Saturdays and watch Hercules and Xena. And now I teach ancient mythology and ancient history. And your shows really helped influence what I'm doing with my career. What I really enjoy about Hercules now as an adult is I watch it and I have more of an appreciation for the other mythologies, like the Norse mythology and everything that was put in. What I wanted to ask you is, which was your favorite storyline? Well,
you know, you shoot the show for 7 years. It's hard. That's unfair in a way. I liked all the seasons. I got to say, I did love the last season visiting the Celtic mythology and Norse mythology. That was fun. It was a breath of fresh air for all of us as well. It was just fun to go visit those worlds and visit those places. And it's interesting because when the series came out, you know, we by season 3, end of it, we had passed Baywatch as the most watched show in the world, which is really cool to be part of something like that. And I did a movie called Soul Surfer. I don't think I got a chance to see it. It's a wonderful movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it. And Doug Schwartz was one of our exec producers. When Doug Schwartz created Baywatch. So I gave him some shit on the set, you know. But I called it Baywatch BC because we had a lot of cleavage on the show too. So, but it was the number of letters that came in from around the world, from schools, from libraries, from wherever, talking about mythology, talking about how mythology has also been a subject of interest from grade school through high school again that wasn't there before the show. And it shows you the powerful effect that television has on people, and it's amazing. And the letters I got, the marriage proposals, good Lord. It was amazing, the stuff that came in. Photos, yeah. And, oh, yeah, guys, you'd have liked it. And, it is interesting. It's interesting you're down in New Zealand, you're on the other side of the world, it's a small little country, it's a beautiful country, you go, do yourself a favor, visit it, and you're sort of isolated in a way. I was away from Hollywood, I was only really American down there. They brought like a guest star every week, but it could have been American, it could have been New Zealand, it could have been Australian, whatever, but you get back home. I started noticing it in airports by the end of season 1, when I'd be in the airport in the States or something, and then people walking up and going, hi. You know, it was weird because you're just there working your 14-hour days, and you're sort of, like you said, your own little world, and you find out that the show is so huge, and the letters that start coming in, it was mind-boggling. And then my first year going back home to Minnesota to visit family for Christmas, and the toys had come out for the first time, and I walk into Target with my mom and dad, and there's like a wall. My mom just starts laughing, you know, and how's it make you feel? And I said, it's really strange. It's very surreal, you know, to be an action figure, you know. So it was cool. I mean, people are always great. I mean, I've been very fortunate between Hercules and Andromeda. I had a 12-year run there between '93 and 2005. And there are actors that will get a 1-year run, you know, and I get that, I understand that. And they have 2 shows and they have 2 characters that were influential, but also just nice guys, and people coming up and just saying your show has really affected me in a positive way. And you know, I get letters from kids that say, you know, that they're orphans, and you know, that the show saved their lives, and whatever it may be. I mean, you guys wouldn't believe the variety of things that people come in. It's pretty cool. Even here, you know, I do about 5 or 6 cons a year. People coming up and saying, I watch this show with my grandfather. You know, he's passed away since then. I watch this show with my mom, and you know, it's very touching. It's very, you know, it's amazing to hear how shows can unite people. The TV guide editor back in the '90s said, this is the show that he watches with his family, the only show he watches with his kids. And it was nice. It was nice to have that sort of touch on people. But I've done some interesting things since then too. I mean, as an actor, I've done about 50 movies in the last 6 years. And it's been, you know, most of them have been family friendly, but I did one that I told my parents for the first time they can't see it. So it's not a porn. It's called Julia X. It's in 3D. Don't know when it's coming out. A lot of visual effects in it. But I played a serial killer. And yeah. And I get my victims off the internet dating service. So, and it's more of a psychological thriller. It's not some slasher thing. But it's, I said they should title it Julia X, A Very Bizarre Love Story, is what it should be titled. So it was, but from an actor's standpoint, it was interesting. We shot in Shreveport, Louisiana, which was interesting in itself there, because I remember, we homeschool my kids, so if the family's able to travel with me, as much traveling as I do. And I remember being in Shreveport shooting Julia X. I'm segueing, I'm sorry, but it's just too funny. And I'm getting groceries at Target or Kmart or wherever the hell I was. And this couple walks up to me, and the guy looks at me and goes, what the hell are you doing here? and I said, well, elves don't bring groceries to my house. I do have to go shopping for my food. And he's like, what are you doing in Shreveport? And I said, well, I'm shooting a movie. He goes, well, this is the armpit of America. And his wife smacks him. He goes, we live here. He goes, I know, but it's still the armpit of America. It's very funny. But Shreveport actually now is turned into, they're building a huge soundstage there. I think they're almost done. They're building like 30 stages there, because Louisiana has huge tax credits. And I know they're doing more here in New Mexico. I've got 3 Westerns that I want to shoot here. I'm looking at, yeah. That we're looking at right now. So the tax credits are starting to open up here. I was actually up for a series called Longmire that's shooting here. And they went with some guy from Britain to play an American cowboy. So yeah. I don't know. I'll meet him one day, but you know, screw him. Yeah. I've got 4 Westerns under my belt. I can do Westerns too. But Hollywood has this weird thing that they think that there are no real men left in America, and I'm not just making this up. I've heard this from Hollywood producers, that they think they have to get them from Australia, New Zealand, or Britain. But I think it's their way of saying, you know, it's like an apology to the rest of the world still. Well, we're sorry that we're so good. You know? So, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird stage, and trust me, all the American actors are taking notice in it right now. I lost 3 other pilots this year, too, a Brit, an Australian, and a New Zealander. I got down the last 2 guys, and all 3 of them. And one, I was perfect for all 3 of them. And one, I thought I had 100%, I thought I for sure called. You'll hear about it next year, because I'm sure a year from now, they'll have actors coming from that show to come here. It's a new sci-fi series called Defiance. And it's a good show. The script was awesome. I was in that room for 45 minutes with the directors and producers, and I thought, I could call my agent. I'm very honest with my agent. If I suck, I'll call us. I sucked. I'm not going to get it. But if I'm good, I think as an actor, you have to know what you're good at, what you're not good at, or we all have bad days. We all have bad days at work and good days at work. And the audition process is horrible. You walk in this room, and everything about Hollywood is about rejection anyway. It's about getting rid of you. And if you look like somebody's ex-boyfriend, boy, you're in trouble. I mean, really, you are. I mean, when I did a pilot for ABC called Bobby Cannon, half-hour comedy. This is 6 years ago. It should have had a 7-year run. Didn't even get picked up. Tested #1 in every test market that ABC did. One guy, the president of ABC, doesn't pick it up. It was a half-hour comedy that I created along with my manager. We had Barry Kemp write it. For those who don't know Barry Kemp, you certainly know his work. He was the head writer on Taxi. He was the head writer, he was the creator of the Bob Newhart series, the second one. He created Coach, which went 9 years with Craig T. Nelson, an amazing writer. We did this pilot. It's Bobby Cannon. Think Brett Favre at the end of his football career. That was a character I was playing. But still, 42, still living like a 24-year-old. It was Coach meets Cheers is what it was. Funny as hell. Great cast. Kate Walsh playing my potential love interest. She's now in the practice. Rocky Carroll, my sports agent, who's now in NCIS. I mean, just a great cast. And we tested #1 in every market they brought it to. And the one president doesn't pick it up from ABC. He said it was too much of an old-fashioned sitcom like Everybody Loves Raymond, which had just gone off the air after a 9-year run. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, you wouldn't want one of those, would you? I was blacklisted from ABC until the guy got fired 3 years ago. Shows you how petty Hollywood is. They didn't call me in for one thing for ABC for the next 4 years. But welcome to Hollywood. Hollywood doesn't deal on, it's called show business, but it's really, it's who you know, who you blow, who you, it's just, Hollywood's, it's a weird cat. I mean, it's unfortunate that I love what I do so much, because I don't like the politics of Hollywood. Most people don't, and there's just so many games in Hollywood. It's unfortunate, it's unfortunate, and it deprived you guys of a very funny sitcom, because it was funny. And they own it for 5 years when you sell it to them, because they don't want it to go somewhere else. And that's another president, CBS, Les Moonves. It's called the Les Moonves Law. You guys remember JAG, right? JAG went for 6 episodes and NBC canceled it. Les Moonves at CBS says, I like it, I'll buy it. He buys it. They just like, we're happy to get rid of it. It goes for 12 years. NBC stockholders go, what the hell did you get rid of that show for? So now, instead of looking dumb, what they do is buy it for 5 years, and if they don't put it on the air, they put it on the shelf and let it die. So you never know about it. Isn't that weird? Just live inside to the wonderful things about it. Read a book called Disney Wars. It's very thick. Do you know Disney Wars? It's an amazing book. It shows you what goes on, and you're amazed at how things get picked up and how things don't get picked up. It's very strange. Anyway, I digress. We should talk about me. What do you want to know? My family, they're awesome. My kids are 10, 8, and 6, and like I said, we homeschool for that reason, because I travel so much. So they'll be joining me in Nashville and coming down to Louisiana, and you know, loves of my life. You know, the wife, you know, that goes up and down. But the kids, they're not teenagers yet, so they still think I'm cool. So I know once they're teenagers, they'll blow me off. Anything else?
So you'll never get that movie back, huh?
The half-hour show? Well, we own it again now, so we do have it back, but I feel like I'm too old to play that part now. But Barry Kemp, who wrote it, is very busy with a Broadway musical right now. And he's a very talented writer. He's a very funny guy. I golf with him occasionally, and you can see how he created all his sitcoms, because everything comes out of his mouth is so casual and easy and just funny. He's got all these one-liners, and he's like effortless with it, you know. Who else? Wait, yes? Lucy's easy. We've all had her. That's easy. You know, it's funny because, you know, when I got down there, I was the only American on the show, and they hadn't cast anybody else yet. And so I get down there, we shoot 5 2-hour movies, we shoot the first year of 1-hour shows, and Michael, it's interesting with Michael Hurst, because Michael is like the premier Shakespearean actor of New Zealand. He's a very talented guy. And we get down there and saw him in a movie, in this very bizarre movie that, I can't remember the title of it. I'm sure if you go onto IMDb you can find it, maybe obscure location, find a copy of it. But it was very dark and red and gay and just strange. And Michael, shaved his eyebrows, his hair, and he looked so weird in this movie. It was done like a year before, so he was ready to shoot the series. But I'm in there with the producers, with Rob Tapper and Eric Grundeman. We're watching this movies, and this is before we started shooting, when he already been cast. And Rob was just, he goes, oh my God, we're sure we booked the right guy for this part, you know? And then Eric says, well, he's an actor, Rob. He can do other things, you know? But if you saw that part, it ain't Aeolus, I'll tell you that much. It's a very strange part. But then Lucy, she got cast, she was like 4 or 5 different things the first 2 seasons before the whole Xena thing even happened. They had another actress booked for that part originally. They had, Vanessa Angel, with the TV series Weird Science. Very Raquel Welch, very voluptuous. She was supposed to play that part. And I don't know what happened between A and B, but they got rid of her, and then Lucy was in the part. So, but quite frankly, it actually turned out better, because Lucy has more of a tomboy in her that sells that part, and you need that. You need that sexy athleticism, otherwise it doesn't really work for that role. So it was interesting, the whole, and had we shot in we were supposed to shoot in South Africa, then they moved it to Australia. New Zealand was literally a last minute decision. It was never ever going to happen there. They were scouting in Australia, and somebody had called them and said, well, go check out New Zealand on the way home. So you look at that, it would have been a whole different show, because it wouldn't have been either Michael or Lucy in any of those roles, and maybe the roles never would have happened. You know, maybe the series wouldn't have gone on. Who knows? It's just, it's weird how things, you know, happen up there. I don't know, it's very strange. Next. Yes, way in the back. Yo. It's on.
So with all your choreography and...
You can talk into it. He says it's on. No, it's not. Oh. Go ahead. I'll repeat it. I think we can all hear it.
With all your choreography and training and with weapons and everything, have you really just ever hurt somebody really bad? You just accidentally?
No, but I've been hurt really bad. I got, you know what? I got good at it. I mean, I worked my butt off on the fight scenes. I did. We would shoot 3 fight scenes every episode. That was what the formula was for the TV show. And on the days we weren't shooting, I was always with Peter Bell, who was a stunt coordinator, and other stunt guys who were, you know, we brought on the set to work on the fight scenes. Because, you know, it's usually me against 20 guys, so they got 2 moves to memorize. I got 40, you know. So I remember for each take, you're sitting there and you get pumped up. It's like, I played football and basketball. I mean, to me, that was my continuation. I still got the butterflies, I still get ready to go. And I sit there, and I'd be standing up, and the fight's ready to go, and we got 3 cameras going, and I'm going, just before they, you know, they're doing the clapboard ready to say action, I'm going, oh shit, what's my first move? you just freeze for a second, you know, it's weird. But once action's called, you just get into it. You get in, and in the flow, it's a dance. I mean, it's a dance. They've asked me 7 times to be on Dancing with the Stars, by the way. Anyway. I know, I say no every time. And every time I've said no, thank God, because I've gotten a movie that I wanted to do during that same time. Seriously. I mean, yes, 20 million people watch it. It might be great, might be bad, might totally make me look like an idiot, but I've thought about it. But anyway, yeah, it's you really work on it, and I enjoy working on it. You know, I mean, we were 12 to 14 hours a day in the set. I was 2 hours a day in the gym every day. I mean, I'm 215 now. I was 235 back then. I was lifting heavy. You know, I was working out all the time, and I loved it. I dug it. You know, and you get into it. And but I had a fight scene. Actually, the trilogy at the end of season 2, introducing the Xena character, where Michael Hurst and I fight each other because, you know, the woman's lower body part is more interesting to the man to make him turn against his best friend. Anyway, I had a problem with that storyline, but I have to fight him. So during the fight rehearsal, there was a move where I do a 360 move, but I'm going down the whole time, coming around the other side of him, and his sword's supposed to go where my head was, okay? And in fight scenes, you always look at the person you're fighting with. You always learn, that's the first thing any stunt guy will let you work with. Doesn't matter how many twists and turns you're doing. If you're doing a turn, your head comes around first to line up where you're supposed to hit. And that's where your leg goes, or your hand goes, wherever you got your sword, wherever. So Michael, during one of the rehearsals, I felt the sword, really close. I felt it. And I said, Peter, I don't like that move. I don't like that dip I'm doing like that. And Mike goes, oh, mate, don't worry, I'm the New Zealand fencing champion. And all he's bragging himself out. First take, I get nailed back of the head. Boom. I'm down, I'm out, I wake up in the hospital, had a concussion, they had ripped open the back of the head, they had to put 13 stitches in. You watch the replay, he hits me on the flat side of the sword. If he hits me here, I'm dead. There's no question. Because we went with, our swords were real. They were dull, but they were real. So we ended up switching to aluminum swords after that. They got beat up more, they got to replace them more. But had he hit me with the blade, there's no way. And what's weird is because, like I said, you're supposed to watch. You watch it, you watch the replay, you slow it down. Michael's supposed to be coming through like this. He's like, eyes freaking closed.
Oh, wow.
He gives me a bottle of scotch, so that's going to make me feel better. I don't even drink scotch. It's unbelievable. It's true. I mean, but I mean, we got knuckles beat up all the time. I've had, and it's a combination of playing sports through school too, but I've had 3 knee surgeries since then. I've had another one on the way. Back problems. I mean, all this stuff I lift weights from the time I was 15 until I finished the series. And I still work out every day. I just don't lift, but I was lifting heavy. I lifted heavy for 25 years. And, all the stuff, it catches up to you. And it was, I only hit one time I hit a stunt guy. They got mad at Michael because the stunt guys, Michael wouldn't pull his punches as much. And when most stunts, when you throw a punch, you're supposed to be here. You miss somebody at 6, 8 inches, and you do a head whip and a sound effect, and it sells, and it looks great. Michael would actually be hitting these guys, and the stunt guys, that guy hits me one more time, man, I can imagine. And there's only one time in all the years, the 400 fights we did in that series, where I got one of my buddies coming up behind me, because his fault, because he went a foot over the line. And I'm fighting guys here, I'm flipping guys there. He's running up, and I throw an elbow like this. I caught him so good in the nose. He backed. It didn't break his nose, but his blood was coming out, and his eyes were just watering. And I looked back, and I said, oh my God, Scott, I'm sorry. He goes, no, it's my fault, my fault. Because he was a good foot over the line, too. So I take, I've always said, I was on Letterman one time, and he asked me about the fight scenes as well. And I said, I learned a lot of different martial arts, White Lotus, Kung Fu, karate, all that stuff that I learned on the set. It was on the set training. But I said, if I met a real black belt, I'd get my ass kicked. I totally know that. I'd probably go up and start kicking. I'd probably start throwing punches and missing guys by 6 inches and wondering why they're not doing backflips. Where's that sound effect? Well, that's something that shows so much fun. Even a head turn, they go, whoosh, whoosh. They put these sound effects on everything. And I think that's what made the show so much fun for people. I throw a guy out of a bar, and his body's cut out in this bar, the shadow and stuff. It's just, the show was just fun that way. And Peter was great, because I would sit there and add stuff. We'd go over fights, and I would say, what if I kick the sword out of his hand? And that guy that has threw 100 yards, that landed a cow pie, is just getting back up, and as he's standing up, that sword flying through the air hits him, and he falls back in the cow pie again. So we would add stuff like that all the time, and Peter was very open. And to me, it was all about the laugh anyway. And Michael and I would always look for one-liners to throw in here and there. And a lot of the one-liners you guys laughed in the show, just stuff that spontaneously happened on the set that we would just come up with. And and I think that's what just sort of made it fun. I mean, a lot of the one-liners we did even the corny ones, the campy ones, I remember one we did an episode with a giant lady spider, and I landed in her lair basically, and there's just webs everywhere, and I ad-libbed, oh my God, this is one big website. And they kept it in. I don't see, but that's what's fun. We know you groaned on the couch, but that's what's fun. Because you knew what we were doing. You had your popcorn, tongue was firmly planted in cheek. We knew what was going on. Because we knew early on, I said, if people don't laugh with us on the show, they're going to laugh at us, and we're not going to last very long. So we cannot take ourselves seriously. But you know, the writers' credits, they wrote a lot of great dramatic parts too. And it was great to have really good parts where you could sink your teeth in as an actor and just have some nice moments in there too. And I know that the show made people cry as well. And I think I love being part of something like that could have that, you know, the crying to the laughing and everything in between. So it was kind of fun. Yes?
Kevin, did you feel fear when you felt that stroke coming on? Were you scared?
She's mentioning, I had something that was kept very secret for a long time. It's pretty much out in public now, but a lot of people still don't know. I wrote a book called True Strength. I've been on the road quite a bit. It's doing a lot of speaking at hospitals and churches and bookstores and stuff. Between seasons 5 and 6 on Hercules, I got really sick. I was supposed to shoot a movie. The last 3 months leading up to the end of season 5 down in New Zealand, I was having a horrible pain in my left arm. It was just bugging me. I couldn't figure out what was going on. It was just, and I had these 3 fingers, and this side was getting ice cold, getting colder and colder as the weeks went on. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I called my doctor in LA, and I told him what was going on with my shoulder pain in the shoulder. All this, he said, you know what? He goes, you do a lot of fight scenes. You could have smashed your ulnar nerve, which is your funny bone. And a lot of hockey players do this and thing like that. When you smash that ulnar nerve, you can get the sensation of just deadness and coldness and all that kind of stuff. And he says it could take 6 months to go away. So I blew it off. I was an athlete, and I always played with aches and pains all the time, so I didn't pay attention to it. I just finished a year earlier a movie called Call the Conqueror, the prequel to Conan the Barbarian, and I was supposed to do a bunch of, thank you for the one clap. And 4 months of getting the crap beat out of me in Slovakia and Croatia, but it was cool. I had a good time doing it. And I was coming back to do a bunch of publicity on it, and I was going to start another movie called Black Dog, and for Universal Studios. And so I was on a press tour. I was doing Leno, Letterman, Chicago. I was on all these different talk shows, and I'd go up to Boston and do some press up there. And when I was in Boston, my shoulder got to the point. I said, "Man, this is really bugging me." And the studio said, "We'll find a doctor and send him to your room, your hotel room." I said, "Great." So this doctor comes to my room. His name was Dr. Dye. And I said, "Really? You go into the medical profession and you don't change your name? I mean, I don't care if it's spelled D-Y-E. Seriously, you change your name. And that profession, you know, I mean, if you're looking at the list of doctors, oh, that's the one I want to go to." But anyway, he's the first doctor who sort of nailed it on the nail. He said, "I think it's something to do with the cardiovascular system. You should get that checked out." So I went and saw my doctor in LA. He found a lump in his shoulder. And he said, "You know, I want to get this biopsy. I don't know what's going on with you, but we need to get that biopsy." Which kind of got me a little scared, because I was like, I've always been healthy, never worried about anything. I was like, okay, just kind of weird. I went to the gym to work out, and I couldn't even pick up 10 pounds. At that time, I was doing curls with like 80-pound dumbbells. I was doing sets of 10, 12. I was ripped up. I couldn't even pick up 10 pounds. The pain was so bad. So I went to see my chiropractor, who was just down the road. And I've been going to him for, God, 8 years. In 8 years, he's never cracked my neck, because I don't like my neck cracked. Don't like it. I think chiropractors are great for other things, but me, I never like the sensation. He said, "Don't crack my neck." I'm laying there on the table. I told him what the doctor said, and he said, "If you found the lump," he's working my arm. I hear a voice, kid you not, I hear a voice say, "Don't let him crack your neck." I look up and I said, "What did you say?" He said, "I didn't say anything." I shut my eyes again, he's working on my shoulder, and I hear again, "Do not let him crack your neck." And I'm thinking, why am I hearing this voice say, "Don't crack your neck"? Because he's never cracked my neck. Boom, he cracks my neck. I sat up, I said, "Why did you do that?" He said, "Well, I felt you needed it." And I said, "You know, I don't like that." Paid him, left. I'm not 2 minutes out of that office where, to make a long story short, I do have a book, you can check it out, but there's lots of leading up to it. I suffered 3 strokes. I'm in my car, I get these huge sensations in the back of my head that were loud. It's like somebody physically popped the back of my head. Everything got crazy. It was like, I felt like my head was inside an aquarium, looking through the water, looking through the glass, where everything was just sort of weird and strange looking. And I had this sensation I was falling backwards and falling backwards, yet I was sitting like I am now, and I couldn't stop falling backwards. I called my fiancée, Sam, who's now my wife, at the time, told her what's going on. She says, "I'm gonna come get you." Typical guy, right? "I'm fine. I'll drive home." How, I don't know. I get there, and all of a sudden, I can barely walk. I'm holding onto the walls as I'm walking to her apartment. And she opened the door, and all of a sudden I start speaking, and it just came out, I couldn't hear. Right then and there I knew that I'd suffered yet another stroke, and that was my speech. I was like in total denial, total shock. She called the doctor. He said, get him to the hospital now. She only lived about 2 miles from the hospital. And luckily she was also a volunteer there in the emergency room, so she knew everybody there. We get there, it was all chaos for me. I mean, it was weird how calm I was about it, because I remember hanging onto her walking into the emergency room, because I couldn't barely walk on my own, looking up at the blue sky and saying, my God, I'm gonna die today. And I remember how calm I was about it. But I was a calm anger, because I was like, this really sucks. I always wanted to have kids. I always thought my career was, I thought I'd live to be 90. Well, they got me in there, and sure enough, all the tests were going on, and this arm was, by then, there was an aneurysm. That's what the lump was here that exploded. And it sent all these, I had hundreds of clots in this arm. This arm was purple. They thought they were going to have to amputate it. They stuck it. Immediately, boom, they put heparin and Coumadin, huge blood thinners in there. And I was in ICU for 7 straight days where I couldn't even move. I had to lay there. I went through an angio through the groin where they put a platinum coil in where the aneurysm was, but the 3 strokes were there to stay. I lost 10% of vision in both eyes, and my balance was completely screwed up. So if you look at season 6 on Hercules, you'll see that I'm not in there very much. Bruce Campbell's on a lot more. Salmonius is on a lot more. A lot of flashbacks, because I went from 14 hours a day to basically 1 hour a day. I had to drop out of the movie Black Dog, obviously. Spent 4 months in rehab with people that were more apt to be in the world of getting strokes. So for me to get a stroke at my age and my physical fitness level, not a smoker, not a drinker, not obese, no high blood pressure, everything was, I was opposite of whatever happens, age, everything. I was opposite of whatever doctors look for. And the chiropractic move, cracking my neck, forced 3 of those clots that were supposed to go this way with the blood flow, basically upstream into my brain. The 4th clot dissolved quickly, thank God, in my speech. So that one dissolved on its own. But the other ones, they're here to stay. I know what my limitations are, but it took me 3 full years to recover. It was a long recovery. They hit the last 2 seasons of Hercules. I got more, I got better as the second season. Season 7, which is 2 years after the strokes, where I was about 8 hours a day on the set, but I went from 14 hours a day down to 1 to start, and I could barely even move. And it was frustrating. And the book is written to hopefully be an inspiration to people, because doctors told me, they said after 8 months, wherever you feel, you have to live with that the rest of your life. Well, after 8 months, I wasn't doing too good still, and I'm a very strong-willed person, and I just said, there's no way. There's a reason they call the doctors, they call it a practice, because they still don't know everything. And I took it upon myself to get myself better on my own and push myself. I knew what would make me feel worse, yet I would put myself in those situations that make me feel worse. And because I knew no pain, no gain, basically. And I know that, my wife bugged me for years to write the book, and I finally wrote the book, because the message really is not to let other people set your limitations, no matter what it is, whether you're healthy or not. We spend so much time listening to other people saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. It's really up to you to do it. One audio book, and I did do the audio.
Yes, sir.
What was it like working with Tony Quinn?
You call him Tony Quinn. He was always Mr. Quinn to me. And never call him Anthony. He always wanted me to call him Tony. Anthony Quinn, Mr. Quinn, was Zeus for the first year of Hercules. I was totally intimidated. I was blown away that I'm working with this icon. A man who's done 270 movies, who's 6 Academy Award nominations, 2 wins. Became very close with him, very close with him. There's only 2 times I really, it's easy to go up in your lines, it's easy to make mistakes, because we have so much to memorize each day when you're on a set and you're constantly going. I take pride that I memorize pretty well, and I'm very good at blocking, very good at knowing where I'm supposed to be and where other actors are supposed to be. So only 2 times in my life where I would screw up my lines, and my first time working with Tony Quinn, my first time working with my future wife, where I totally went off my lines, because I was too busy looking at her. She thought I was screwing around, and Michael looks, he goes, no, he never screws up his lines. Because I remember I looked at him, I couldn't remember my lines. I looked at Michael, I go, Michael, I ain't gonna help you, mate. He said. But Mr. Quinn was amazing. The stories were amazing, because he's part of that old guard of Hollywood that's vanishing very quickly right now. You know, I mean, the reason I'm an actor was for me, was really Paul Newman and Robert Redford. And I got a wonderful letter from Paul Newman that I have in my wall in my office. I've got a wonderful letter from Anthony Quinn that I have out of my office. When I first, we would go out to dinner every Saturday night to the same restaurant, Antoine's in Parnell, which is a suburb of Auckland, New Zealand. And the stories he told me were just incredible. You know, the David Lean working on Lawrence of Arabia, whatever it may be, Requiem for a Heavyweight, all these stories that people he worked with, you know. He hated Brando. He said he hated Brando. I think there's a huge ego thing between the two of them. Loved Larry, Laurence Olivier, or Larry, you know. And but to hear these stories, you know, because to me it's just that era was so much more of a mystique to it. Today everybody's got iPhones that record everything. You know, I mean, I go out to a pub and people take pictures and put me on Facebook the next day. You know, there's more of a mystique about that era, and he was incredible. But I do have one story to tell. When we went to dinner one night with his wife at the time, Yolanda, and Eric Grundeman, who's my very good friend. He was the producer on that. And we're at Antoine's again, and we're sitting in there, and I'm here, and Eric's here, and Yolanda's here, and Mr. Quinn's across from me. Mr. Quinn looks at Yolanda, he goes, "Yolanda, go to the bathroom." She goes, "I don't want to go to the bathroom." He goes, "Go to the bathroom." She stands up, she reluctantly gets up. She goes, "I don't want to go. You send me away because you want to talk about the girls. I know you want to talk about the girls." And she's walking down the hallway, and he's making sure she's completely out of earshot. He reaches across, he grabs my hand. He says, "Kevin, tell me what you know about this thing called the G-spot." True story. I said, "Mr. Quinn, you've got 15 kids. You know what the G-spot is." But I just thought it was so weird to hear that. That story's in the book, actually. I got a Gianni Versace story in there too. That's pretty funny as well. So I lived in Europe for 3.5 years and did a lot of work with Gianni Versace back in the day. So that's why I think one of the reasons I've got the bug to write more books now. So I have more stories to tell because I'm very blessed to have the things. You know, I come from a little town of 7,000 people in Minnesota, and you know, when I did move to LA, I didn't know a soul out there. I didn't know a person. I just said, you know, a lot of your photos I'll sign, "Follow your dreams," and I always believe you can follow your dreams. As I said earlier, you can do whatever you want to do, you just have to want to do it. And yeah, it's not easy. Okay, you want to be successful in whatever you want to be successful in life, it's not easy. Don't expect a free handout. And to me, it's just, you know, my father's a public school teacher, for crying out loud. There's no money in that. But he instilled a hard work ethic in all 5 of his kids. And I thank him for that, and I'm very fortunate they're still around. They're getting up there now, but you know, thank God they're still around. But Tony was great. I can call him Tony now. But when he met my parents for the first time, he put his arm around my mom. He goes, "You know, I'm his other father." And it made my mom almost start to cry. You know, I took a great photo. They still have this 8x10 up in their bedroom that he signed for him. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I think we got time for one more question. Yeah.
What was the best part of working on Andromeda?
The best part of working in Andromeda, well, I think that covers both shows in a way. The best part was really the crew that I worked with. I was very fortunate to have. We had a very, you know, and it starts, you know, it starts, I think, with your lead actor as well. I mean, I learned a lot in guest starring on other shows. You know, I remember doing a guest spot on Cheers and watching the way Ted Danson was. Cool guy. I thought, you know what? Yeah. You know, they did other shows, I'm not going to mention, where the crew hated him. I said, why would you want your crew to hate you? You know, you're going to work 14 hours a day with these people. So it was just, the crew from Andromeda, they had a wall of napkins where they wrote quotes on there. So whatever was like silly, stupid, insane, whatever it was, for 5 years. So they had a room where there was their audio and visual, you know, where they did all the cameras and stuff. It was just filled after 5 years, filled with things, and they ended up making a book out of it. And they gave it to us all as a gift at the end of the year, which was just great. I mean, things like, I remember Keith Hamilton Cobb, who played Tyr, on one day in the set, he goes, "I like the scenes best when they're about me." So they wrote that. They wrote that, you know, stuff like that. I remember one of the camera team, Marco's sitting there working, he's got his assistant there, and one of the guys says, "I don't know anybody being gay." I mean, he goes, I can't say it, there's kids. Okay. I'll tell you later. I can't. It's too funny though. It's very, very funny. But that's what made the show. It was just a lot of jokes on the set, a lot of laughs on the set. You want to keep it loose. You want to keep it easy, and that's what you have to do. And working with the crews and the cast I had in both series. Like Michael and I still keep in touch all the time. Gordon and I keep in touch It's hard to keep in touch with everybody. Everybody's got their lives. You move on and do different things. But I did an episode of Psych about 4 years ago. And I got to go back up to Vancouver where I shot Andromeda. And I was reunited with like half my crew from Andromeda, which was kind of cool. So it was just fun. You do make those lifelong friends. I remember I gave a big speech when Hercules finished. On the day we actually wrapped, it was very difficult. I think it's even out online somewhere now where you see me I couldn't get through 3 words. I just broke down. I mean, 7 years with these people and what I went through with my illness and the support I got from them. I mean, it was, they're family. That becomes family. It's funny, I get questions from people. I go, why is it in people in Hollywood, business, they always marry people in the business? I go, I don't know, you're a teacher. You married a teacher, you tell me. It's who you're around, it's who you meet. It just happens. But it was, I gave a speech up there on the very last day. We had a huge party. We had a room filled up. I don't know, 2,000 people were there. Michael spoke, the producer spoke, and I got up there. And I just said, I'm not going to say goodbye to you guys, because I'm going to see you again. So all I want to say is see you later, because it's so hard. It is hard to say goodbye to people. But it's funny how life is. You do bump into people years later, and I have. I mean, I've been back to New Zealand 3-4 times. I'm going again next year. And I reunite with a lot of the guys. I always take my stunt guys out every year, because my stunt guys, I'm the first to say, man, they made me look good. They made me look tough, I'm blown away what these guys can do to their bodies, and they took some bad bruises and bad falls. But every year, I would take them, we do a bowling alley thing, where I would just take just the stunt guys. And, I had to put down a big down deposit because they just beat the shit out of these bowling alleys. They're stunt guys. Eventually they're going to put a football helmet on and the 2 guys are going to grab one guy and throw him down the alley. So, it's just, I remember Peter Bell, I told you earlier, a stunt coordinator, he would sit there and go, no, you can hit him, mate. He likes it. Just give him a pop in the stomach, he loves it. And I'm going, okay. But it's just, but those are the memories I have more than anything is not the actual shows that come out themselves. It's just being on the set with these guys, because it's funny. It's too bad that families can't get as close as that. Because even as families, everybody's dysfunctional to some degree, So it's too bad that you can't have that kind of relationship within your own family. But I mean, ultimately, family's the most important thing anyway. So I think I'm done. They want me out of here. Is that what you want? She's like, let's get them out of here. So thank you very much.